Welcome to the special Eid episode of Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ali Gauhar. Eid Mubarak, everybody. It's finally here. We've all been waiting for Eid very anxiously, and why wouldn't we? We get to spend quality time with our families. We get to eat delicious food, and we also get to get back into our routine. It's a fun time, and as I said, we all look forward to this. So to talk about Eid and what it means to us in further detail, I've got a couple of guests in the studio. I've been joined by Ms. Sana Mehmood. Sana Mehmood is the captain of the Pakistani basketball team. Sana, Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak.
Khair Mubarak. Thank you for having me.
How are you? Are you well?
Good, yes. Just have a slight runny nose, so apologies in advance for ruining your show, but excited to be here.
As long as your Eid is not ruined, it's all good.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
not at all.
And we've also been joined by Ms. Abhia Haider, who's on the footy team and the Pakistani football team. Abhia, Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak.
Khair Mubarak.
Right. So, well, I think it's obvious. I didn't need to say it in my introduction that, of course, this is an Eid show, but it's a sports-based Eid show. So we'll talk about the work that you do and how the sports that you play. We'll get to all that. But first, Eid. I mean, what comes to your mind when you think of Eid? Your first memories. Let's talk about your first memories of Eid. I'll start with you, Sana.
To be very honest, Eid, of course, Eid ul-Fitr is all about Eid.
Yeah, we don't get that anymore, do we?
I have to say I'm lucky enough. I try to pry my way into still getting some. And I think as a child, that's all I was excited about, to be honest. I didn't understand everything else, and it's a nice celebration at the end of Ramadan because you're fasting, and particularly now with the summer months. So even though we've had a good month of fasting, of gratitude towards God, it's a good celebration, good full circle conclusion to all of that. So and it's a nice chance to get together with family. To be honest, I'm 24/7 walking around in my track pants, so it gives me a good chance to wear some traditional clothes, and that's also fun.
Abhia, what about you?
Yeah, as a child, it was all about fun and enjoyment, going out on the streets, getting a chance to grab all of what from the Eid you get from your grandparents and all. And these days, when Eid comes, the major missing is obviously our grandparents, who are right now no more. And right now, when we are in this age, the occasions of Eid are a set of responsibilities. You have to do a certain work at home. You have to help your mother. You have to help your family with Eid works and all. As a child, there wasn't such responsibility.
Yeah, grown-up stuff.
Yeah, but now you have to actually do the grown-up stuff. But yeah, this is how Eid is.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Yes, Eid is all about excitement and enjoying yourself, but as you get older, it becomes a little bit more complicated than that, doesn't it? She just mentioned grandparents. This will be my first Eid without my grandmother, so of course the family will have a good time, but that's something we're still going to remember, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, we're all going to remember her, and she'll be looking at us, wanting us to have a good time. So yeah, Eid is not just about the people with you, the people that you're spending time with. It's also about the people that have left us.
Exactly.
I agree. I recently got married, and so this will be my first Eid with my in-laws.
Well, that'll be interesting.
And I'm excited about that because I have no experience whatsoever doing anything like that.
I wish I could help you. I can't.
But no, I have a great family, and I'm looking forward to it. And we recently lost somebody elder to us in my husband's family, and so we were just talking about it. And obviously, like you said, it's bittersweet. You move on with life as well, but you remember those that have gone, and that's why it's a nice family occasion, I say, where you pray and you give thanks, but you also remember all the ones that have left.
Yeah, I mean, this Eid, it's an interesting one because during Ramzan, of course, you're thinking. Lots of things are going through your mind when you're fasting, and then of course when you open your fast, it's a time to think, a time to reflect. We realize that we take the smallest things for granted, like your morning coffee, for example, something like that. And when you don't get to have your morning coffee, you feel like something's missing, and then as the day starts progressing, you go crazy. And then comes 7 o'clock, 7:15, when we opened our roza, you'd have that first cup of coffee and you'd feel great. You had a deeper appreciation for it. So I'm just giving a small example here of how we should have, through Ramzan, through fasting, we should acquire deeper appreciation
Exactly.
for the smaller things in life.
Coffee is still, a major thing. Even a glass of water. We whole day, we don't. Obviously, when we are fasting, we do not have any water or any food. But then, as soon as we break the fast and we have that first glass of water, that is when you actually feel how blessed you are.
That's why this Eid is so important.
Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, and we all obviously think about those that are less fortunate. That's something that we should think about as well.
Or even those that have, like you said, coffee. People can't survive without certain things. There's people with good or bad habits, tea, smoking, etc. It's become such a major part of people's lives. Ramzan often makes me realize I'm so glad my body isn't dependent on anything, that I've never made it dependent enough on something. The only thing I'm dependent on is exercise. If I don't get that out, if I don't run, if I don't sweat, that's when I feel terrible.
That's the toughest for me. That's the toughest bit, not being able to gym when I want to go to the gym, because I usually wake up in the morning and exercise. It's difficult to do that when you're fasting. But yeah, that is a problem for us. But then you think about others who, the idea of exercising or even a cup of coffee doesn't come to their mind. They're thinking about where they're going to get their next meal, how they're going to provide for their how they're going to provide for their family. I remember when I was fasting. This time I was a little bit cranky, as you usually get that way during when you're fasting, and I said to my father, I said, Abu, I'm getting really irritated. I can't wait for iftar. And he just said to me, look, beta, you're sitting at home in an air-conditioned house, and outside it's 45 degrees. It was very hot this time. This has been a very, very hot summer. Yeah. Imagine what people who don't have shelter, what they're going through. That really sometimes you need that reality check,
Obviously,
don't you? And that's what Ramzan gives you.
100%, and it gives us that sense of responsibility that we have towards others, towards the less privileged, and it gives us that sense of responsibility that we need to head out of our comfort zones, and we have to share our happiness, our blessings with those who are not that much fortunate to have all those stuff which we have. So obviously Ramzan gives us a great chance to share one part of our life one part of our lives with those who do not have all of what we have. So
yeah, and of course the fun bit, I guess it was more fun when we were kids, getting Eid, running around, destroying our clothes. This time it's a little bit different. I guess we have more responsibilities. Sometimes we have to give Eid, which I hate. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to give Eid, because I've got nieces and nephews now. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd have nieces and nephews, because in my mind I'm still 12 years old.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit strange.
I completely understand, because like I said, as we're growing older, we don't realize it, but other people around us do. So I've had cousins ask me for Eid, and I'm like, what is this? Eid is for nieces and nephews, not for cousins. I cannot afford all of you right now. So, but it's like I said, it's a good chance to get together. I remember when one of my family members, she got her first ever job, she gave us a 20 rupee note. This is 10 plus years ago, with a little signature saying, this is from a little Eid from my first salary. So, I just think it's the spirit that we need to keep alive. That's more important than the actual amount of money, so to speak.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. The spirit needs to be kept alive, and let's keep it alive. Let's talk about sports now. You're both wonderful athletes. Abhia, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you a couple of times. You play a lot of football, and then you also played footy. A lot of people in Pakistan won't know what footy is, but we tried our best to get our message across. It's Australian rules football, to be specific. You had the opportunity to be a part of the women's team. You went to Australia, and you learned a lot over there. You had some really good matches. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, obviously foot is the national sport of Australia, and we visited Australia back in August for the International Cup 2017, and many countries from all around the world were participating in that tournament. There were countries like Canada, England, Canada, UK, Pakistan, Fiji, and everyone else. Pakistan had the privilege of sending its first ever footy team, and we are also the first ever Muslim team to play Australian Football League. And it was an amazing experience all in itself. We learned a lot. Obviously, that was the main, task of going towards such a big tournament without much practice, without much preparation, and obviously we're dealing a lot back at home, and then pursuing towards the tournament. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, and right now we are trying to carry forward the game, and hopefully in the next six to 12 months we would be seeing footy on another level in Pakistan.
Sana, you've played football for Pakistan, and now you're the skipper of the basketball team. Tell us a little bit about that.
So interestingly, Abhia and I have been on the national football team together. I've had the honor of captaining 2 national teams, which is kind of crazy as well, but I like to point out that we have such a scarcity of resources in Pakistan and such a limited pool of female athletes that have been trained or that have been polished, that there's more scope for, you'll see a lot of women doing multiple sports in Pakistan as opposed to the rest of the developed world. But yeah, it's been great. I never thought I would get to that point or this point where I am at now, because I never dreamt of these opportunities. I think it was just a lack of role models when I was growing up, of female sports role models. There was no Sana Mir when I was growing up, There was no Hajra Khan, there was no Abhia, Haider, Sana Mehmood. There was none of us when I was growing up or getting into sport. So for me, it was just a pastime, recreational thing, trying to keep healthy, do things that I enjoy. And then when I got the opportunities and I was getting good at it, and I felt this amazing feeling with my team, and this bond that you form with the people that you play with, and go through wins and losses together and stay in training camps together, you just become addicted to it. And when you do, there's no looking back, and you never want to give up or say no. So I'm keeping that sort of spirit alive, and try to keep as engaged as possible with my sport. It's a huge part of my life now, and as I progress and as Pakistan grows, in its own right as a country, as somebody with limited experience in sport in general, and then female sport, we're all learning and growing together. So I hope that we can.
There's still a long way to go, and we'll get back to that. Let's go back a little bit. Abhia, growing up, were you always interested in playing sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was from a childhood. I was a dead and sporty kind of a kid. I was there into every sport at my school level, and that was the major reason my parents thought that they should properly fit me in any club, or put me in proper training where I can learn any sport. And firstly, when they talked to me and they wanted to put me in this football club, Islamabad football team, I wasn't much interested, because frankly speaking, I was more inclined towards cricket. But when I gave my first trials back in 2009, I was 12, I guess. And the time when my coach came towards my parents and actually appreciated me, and how I gave my trials and all, so that was my first step that okay, I need to learn this game now, and I need to follow this. And yeah, from 2009 till now 2018, there has never been stopping into this, continuously playing football, continuously being in touch with the game. Obviously, Sana has been playing much before than I started playing.
Oh, she makes me sound so old.
I was just thinking that.
Thanks, Abhia. Thanks.
Yeah, obviously, she's a senior player, much more experienced player, and for that fact, of course, I've always respected her like anything. And yeah,
it's all good, Sana. I was called uncle the other day, and I'm still traumatized. So
I know. At least she referred to me as senior, mature player.
That was the major, indication that I really respect her experience. Her, that is the responsibility she takes. And I still remember when we went to Bangladesh to play SAF Cup in captaincy of Sana, and I was one of the smallest kid on the team. So we enjoyed a lot, and you know, you need
Was she
to
a
have
tough captain? Was she a bit of a disciplinarian?
the
or
most
was she
dedicated
calm?
one, I would say, the most dedicated one. And you know, you need certain people who are heading your team, who are, you know, there to keep a check and balance. You know, handling a women team in this society which we live isn't, you know, an easy task. So you know, you have to have that.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, so you know, you have to have that dedicated person who are, you know, overlooking everyone on the team, and you know, being a responsible one. And Sana has, you know, been there for everyone.
Abhia, as a child, was sports or playing sports very much a part of Eid? Did they go hand in hand?
Sports and Eid?
No, as in, you know, after Eid namaz and after khana and all that. I mean, did you go out into the lawn and play? Because that was a big part of my Eid. So I was just thinking, I'd play cricket with my friends and my cousins. Sometimes we'd be watching cricket matches. Like, I still have this wonderful memory of Pakistan beating Australia in 1999, which was very rare because Australia were the best team in the world. And I remember playing cricket in my garden, messing up my Eid clothes and really irritating my grandmother and mother.
Okay, so watching sports on television is, you know, some kind of a different thing, as you know, World Cup is also starting from tomorrow. So yeah, but yeah, on Eid day, playing sports, going out of this house, that is, you know, I haven't done it yet, because Eid is a part where it is, you know, a major family reunion. Your uncles, your puppos, everyone, you know, visits your house. And right now, you have to become that responsible kid, obviously, in the family, and you know, you have to sit with all of them, because being a sports person, you never get to visit all those family dinners. You never get to participate too much in the family events, and many of the family you know, persons have this major thing against you, that you know, you never show up to in their houses and all. So when they visit, you have to be there in the drawing room, and you know, you have to treat everyone good.
Funny, we have a lot in common. Well, this is great fun, girls, and we'll continue the fun after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our special sports Eid show. We've been having a great time here, and we're going to continue that with our guests in the studio. I still have Sana, Mehmood, and Abhia Haider here with me. Sana, we were talking about Eid, of course, and then your careers and what sports you've played. You're, of course, into basketball. You've played football as well, like Abhia. You've captained Abhia. A little bit more about how Eid and sport go together. Just before the break, Abhia was talking about how sports and Eid went hand in hand when she was celebrating, when she used to celebrate Eid as a child. What about you? What memories do you have? Did you play a lot of basketball? Did you play a lot of soccer during Eid?
I think just like Abhia, since we play all year round, and it's just a part of our lifestyle, that Eid is that one day that we take a break from things, because our families expect us to be present. Just like Abhia mentioned, all year round we're not able to make it to other family gatherings because of training camps or practice, and everybody kind of resents that in a way, because you know, that's what's expected of especially girls in our society. So Eid is that time where we dress up traditional and go meet families. And yes, when I was younger, of course, we did the regular with cousins, play a game of dodgeball, play some cricket, you know, in the lawn and things like that, which I think most kids do when they're growing up. Now I think it's more interesting to discuss Ramzan and athletes and how they train and how they manage. I was just talking to Abhia. I do this recreational sort of football for girls in the nights and basketball on alternate nights for girls, just so that we stay in practice and just so we have something to do after that long day of fasting. And Abhia was saying, you know, she feels tired and exhausted, and it's difficult to carry on. And so I think it's very important to talk about that, how there are athletes who are trying to stay focused still during Ramadan. I know last year I was religiously doing fasted cardio because I thought it was important to stay in shape. I don't go to the gym during the day because I don't think it's good for my muscles, but yes, we try to work out late at nights. We try to compensate for missing out practice throughout the month.
No, I think people are adjusting now because fitness is getting, the concept of fitness is getting bigger and bigger in Pakistan. And I remember just before Ramzan started, I follow a lot of gyms on Instagram. A lot of them have these, Ramzan deals, come train with us at night, 9, 10 o'clock. So I think we're slowly getting used to that. And what else it does is that, during Ramzan, after you open your fast, there are a lot of these activities going on. They don't have, at least for me, I can only speak about myself right now, is that we don't tend to do much, after work. We just, eat and then, maybe watch something, read something, and then go to bed. But during Ramzan, there's a lot of sports out there. A lot of people are willing to play sports. Like after Iftar, my friends and I, we play volleyball. We've been playing volleyball religiously. So yeah, I think it really does go hand in hand.
It does go hand in hand. And right now, for me personally speaking, right now my Ramadan routine have been very tough, following an internship and obviously fasting. So I've been keeping myself busy playing table tennis with my brother and cousins late at night for half an hour, 1 hour, just to be, stay in touch somehow, and having a half an hour jog right after Sehri near my house in the streets. So yeah,
you jog after Sehri?
Yeah,
that's really something.
Yeah, I have been jogging since
I can barely move after Sehri.
No, I'll do it like right before Iftar if I have to, just so I can.
I've been jogging since the past now 1 month since first Ramadan. So yeah, this is one thing I've been continuing since the Ramadan month. So this is how because like Sana said, she had been organizing these recreational activities, but following my routine, it was tough for me to go after Iftar every day or every other day towards her activity, which I would be joining after Ramadan, inshallah. So yeah, this is for me. It was something by which I was in touch with my workout and my routine.
Let's talk about your role as a basketball player. Sana, tell us about that. You're the captain now. We spoke about that earlier on in the show. It seems as if that's something that you're incredibly passionate about.
Oh yes, bordering on crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how it started. I think I was in 6th grade and my school had just constructed a new basketball court, and it was intriguing for me to see this new sport. I tried to watch it. I had some cousins abroad, and the Chicago Bulls were a big thing back then. So I got some t-shirts and jerseys, and I was just curious to see because it wasn't a big sport in Pakistan. But with the construction of that court, I bought myself a ball and just started. And ever since then, I've been hooked onto it. And the women's basketball team for Pakistan is very new. It's very young. The first team that went abroad was back in 93, 94. And 20 odd years later, in the recent past, the first team to go abroad is in 2016, where we went to the South Asian Games in India. And I was obviously captain of the team, which once again came as a pleasant surprise and obviously humbled by the opportunity given, because it's a huge thing to represent your country at an international platform, and especially as captain. There's just a pride associated with it and a humility associated with it that you can't explain. I think you sing the national anthem differently when you've been on the national team and when you've worn your country's flag and adorned those colors. So for me, it's now become a part of my life, and I try to bring other girls into the game. I try to encourage other people to send their girls, even if they're not going to pursue it at a competitive level. I think every girl should participate in sports at some level or the other, because I think it has these intangible benefits on other aspects of your life that you will never recognize. I think my discipline, my punctuality, everything that I can attribute, everything positive that I see in my life is something that I can attribute to sports.
Everything you've just said now, I hope people are listening to what you just said, because you've made so many important points. You mentioned the national anthem, how you listen to it differently. Just as a viewer, before a cricket game starts and I hear the national anthem, I get goosebumps. I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for the cricketers out there, or when you represented Pakistan in basketball, how you were feeling. I mean, that's wonderful to hear. And the amount that sports teaches you, it teaches you so much. It teaches you all about winning, how to handle success. You also learn a lot in defeat. I think you learn more in defeat. And you used a very important word there, crucial word, humility. Something that we all need.
Yeah.
It's such an important characteristic, and that's something that sports gives you.
I 100% agree. Empathy, you know, these life skills, so to speak, are what you can get from sport. And the best part is you don't realize that you're learning it, but it's over time that you've been a part of this, of something bigger than yourself. It's not just you, and especially team sports teach you that. I don't have a lot of experience with individual sports, but even those athletes operate within teams, within federations, within sports bodies, and there's a bigger responsibility on you. It's larger than just your name, and your country is at stake, or your country's reputation is at stake, and that teaches you a whole lot more.
Abhia, I'm sure you completely agree with everything
Obviously,
everything that Sana has just said. Just I mean, what the life skills that sports teaches you, it's invaluable.
It is, absolutely. I agree with Sana, whatever she has said. Sports teaches us a lot. Our whole lifestyle, you know, it reflects upon the sports which we have, you know, pursuing since the last 10, 11 years. We have been playing sports since, you know, 80% of our lives are actually been dedicated towards sports. And, you know, you get all your confidence level, the way you treat others. You know, team games are especially very important because, you know, you learn how to live within 40 to 50 girls when there is a national camp. You need, and, you know, you have to adjust between all these girls. You need to put your egoistic, your attitude, all those, you know, your qualities or not so qualities aside, and, you know, you need to adjust between all of them. So these are, you know, some certain skills which sports does teach you apart from our skills on the ground. Off the ground, these are very important characteristics that builds your personality. And as a sports person, it has built my personality, Sana's personality, and every other person's who has been pursuing or playing sports, even not as a profession, even as a recreational activity, even as you know, passion or something like that. But sports teaches us a lot about life.
You're probably tired of this question, but I have to ask it. Women in sport, women getting involved in sports in Pakistan. It's been quite a challenge for many. I've interviewed quite a few of them, and they do mention their challenges, and they still exist. There's no doubt about that. There's no point hiding it. But tell me, Sana, and then I'll ask Abhia this as well. Has it gotten any easier?
First of all, I love that question because no matter how many times you ask it, it still doesn't lose its importance.
Exactly.
Because we still have to talk about it. Exactly. And if you don't talk about a challenge or an issue, you never work towards solutions. So, you know, let's start with the fact that you're having a sports Eid show and you have 2 female athletes on board, you know, and that's commendable.
That's a start.
That's a start, and that's commendable. That didn't happen a few years ago, you know. And like I said, there wasn't a Sana Mir when I was growing up. There wasn't a lot of attention to female sports and how you cover female athletes. If you just do a random search on the internet and try to analyze the coverage in media of male versus female sports, male sports are far ahead of female sports. And then even within those sports, you'll see certain sports getting more importance. Even international female athletes are covered more than national or local athletes in Pakistan. So first of all, it's a lack of role models. It's not that parents aren't interested, it's that parents don't know. They don't know what are the benefits of putting their girls in sport. They haven't seen a successful story out there. They haven't seen what their girl or what their daughter could become one day. And the girls themselves, it's self-limiting beliefs about, oh, I couldn't do this. I remember when I've been very interested in research as well, so I keep reading about these things and the impact of sports on women. And as part of my job, I also work with a lot of girls in sport with the organization that I represent. And we see that the impact on girls is far more than the impact on boys, because generally the mobility for girls in this society is limited. So as a boy growing up, like you said, you'd play cricket in the streets, you'd go to school, maybe you'd walk to the market. Girls don't do that. They either have the home or the school and these are the four walls that they're mostly within, in the confinements of that safe space. There's no third space for them to interact. When you open up sports for them, it's a third avenue where they can interact with each other and learn so much about themselves, learn so much about their physical and emotional self than they do in the classroom or when they do at home. Because within that, they're still following some sort of gender roles and predefined notions of what they should be. So I always say it's not about teaching a girl how to kick a ball. It's about the belief that I can kick a ball today, tomorrow I can be a doctor, I can be an astronaut, I can be an engineer. And that's the value of it. And that's the beauty of it. So creating more role models and focusing on the media coverage of women athletes and shutting down these barriers that exist culturally for girls, even something as simple as mobility, access. Even with the most wealthiest or even in the urban areas, if I talk about, hey, let's play a pickup game of basketball, 6 girls will say, okay, I'm in, but I have transport issues. Either your brother drops you, your father drops you, your parents do, your driver does. With boys, they manage. Right? They might take some public transport, they might carpool as a group of friends, so mobility is a huge issue. So it's getting better, but even in the cities, this is a significant problem and it limits girls' participation in sport.
Abhia, would you like to add to that?
Sana has spoken about creating more role models. For me, women in sports, I would definitely talk about the resources and the efforts the government and our federations need to put in these sports. And still right now, there was a fact our football federation was banned for the past 3 years. And right now, as soon as they are restored, we are still waiting a chance to hear that whenever the women national championship gets started, and when our national camp would be coming, and there is no answer to any of our questions. So I still hope that that sense of responsibility come towards the women's sports as well, sports persons as well, who are deadly waiting to hear about the national tournaments, because major focus always lies upon the men's team. And this is something we need to break down. We need to bring the women and the men team together on each platforms, and every sport person needs to be created equally, irrespective of being a boy or a girl. So yeah,
I think that's just the way it is really right now, not just in Pakistan, but to be honest, all over the world. Yes, I think it's very important that the media continues to highlight women in sports, and we continue to do what we can. But even if you look at the United States, for example, right? I mean, the NBA, the men's basketball gets a lot more attention than women's basketball, and you can say the same for other sports as well. I mean, the only exception I can think of is tennis. That's it. So I think
I completely agree. It's not a Pakistani problem.
Yeah.
It's a global problem.
It's a global problem.
It's a global problem. But we as Pakistan, we need to make efforts on how we
and
can
think
do better.
about ourselves.
And I still think, being a young country, we've made more strides in the last couple of years than other countries have. So it's a positive trend, but at the same time, the responsibility lies on people who have power. There's only so much that people without power, so to speak, the players or the layman can do. It's those who actually have decision-making power and authority that can say, okay, I'm putting my foot down. If we have training sessions, 1 hour for boys, 1 hour for girls, make that difference.
No, it's crucial that we stress on a number of sports, a number of issues. I mean, when you just look at, forget women in sport. I mean, we focus more on cricket than we do anything else. So you get hockey players saying, listen, can you give us some coverage? Or, squash players saying, give us coverage. That's something else we need to think about. So there are some issues there, but I think you quite rightly said that at least we're identifying them, and we're working toward trying to make it better. I want to talk a little bit about what you do, Sana. It's called The Right to Play.
Yes, right to play.
That's an international NGO you work for. It's all about sports, but you use sports as a tool to highlight other very serious issues. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's very nice to hear you use the exact word for it. Sport is used as a tool at Right to Play. Right to Play is an international NGO that uses sport to create social change. Our end goal isn't to create competitive athletes, rather to teach the life skill or to teach the intangible benefit of sport to particularly disadvantaged youth. So we work in partnership with government schools, a lot of underprivileged community-based schools, kids who don't have the opportunity to pursue education. And especially in those circumstances, sports is very secondary, right? But we think that when you have play and sport and activity-based programs, it generates more interest amongst such students who are more likely to drop out, who are more likely to pick odd jobs over going to school. So it's complementing the usual educational curriculum with sport and play activities, so children can learn physical, social, emotional, cognitive skills out of that. And we've seen a lot of, like I said, we've seen a great impact on girls specifically, because these girls will come to you themselves and say, I didn't know what my body could do. You know, I didn't know how fast I could run. I didn't know I could ever do that. I wasn't capable of it. If you work with a group of girls, then sometimes we'll do a fun activity where you're supposed to jump or run. A lot of the girls are conscious to do that in the beginning. They won't even get involved. It's a natural thing in our schools for the masses that when there's recess, the boys go and play and the girls sit in the shade.
You're absolutely
but
right.
It's taught behavior, it's learned behavior. Where did it come from? It's not that they don't want to. Every time we ask them, it's like, oh, well, you know, nobody tells us. The teachers don't encourage them.
They don't know if they want to or not.
And they don't know because they've never experienced this. Physical education is a dying subject. I'm talking about most of our government schools or other schools where education in terms of, you know, resources where they're lacking, so their basic focus is on classroom-based education. But you have to give a child a holistic growing experience. And like our organization's called, you know, the right to play. Every child has that right to feel that joy and to feel that happiness that play teaches you, because you have fond memories, as you said, growing up playing cricket, and some people don't experience that ever. They might be stuck in child labor, they might be in other exploitative odd jobs, and we want to get them out of that and actually experience play and sport and learn how it can teach them so many life skills.
Yeah, no, and I think, yeah, again, it's important that we have these discussions, because even for someone like me who had the, you know, who's never been denied anything and had all these opportunities. I talked about playing cricket in my garden. I also have 3 older sisters, but I usually play cricket with guys, with my guy cousins. So if my sister one day said, listen, I want to come and play, I would even at that time find it odd. So you're absolutely right. It's conditioned, it's ingrained, but slowly, inshallah, you know, that's going to change. It's all about giving women all the options in the world. You've hit the nail on the head there. Abhia, we're running out of time. I want your final thoughts. Sana just spoke about what she does and how her organization uses sports to sort of highlight important issues. Just something else, another way you can use sports for the greater good.
Obviously, as Sana said, it is very important to get these underprivileged girls or boys on board and give them the chance to have the same feeling about sports as we have. And as professional players, I guess this is very important for each one of us to use our experience in the most positive way and to give back to the society. I guess this is one of a major thing, a major responsibility, and yeah, to educate those who do not have all these opportunities is one of the major tasks. And I'm really glad that Sana and some of our other athletes have come forward and they are paying back to the society. And I really hope that more or less in future I can also contribute, and this is the most amazing feeling.
Girls, this was great fun. I had a wonderful time. We've touched on some very important issues. We talked about sports, we talked about Eid, we talked about everything that you guys are involved in, and I had a wonderful time. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us, and Eid Mubarak again to you and all the viewers and those people who are listening right now.
Eid Mubarak to you both, and God bless you.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for. Eid Mubarak, everybody. I hope you've had fun. Take care of yourselves. Khuda Hafiz.